Hello everyone and welcome to Star Wars Defiance. This video has been such a long time in the making. I could go over so many reasons why this has taken so long to come out. The main reason really is that I have had no idea what format I wanted to present this as. I wanted to do a really quick summary of the season in like 10 minutes and then I'm like, no, I want to show the details there. And then that was going to take too long, and so now I've come up with this, which I feel could be okay, but we'll have to wait and see. So I'm going to share with you the script for Chapter 1 of Star Wars Defiance, the first episode. And then if this video gets interest from people, I will make a video on the rest of the series. There's 3 seasons. All of them are pretty much written and ready to go. I do need to revise season 2 a little bit, but season 3 is really good. Today we're talking about Star Wars Defiance Chapter 1, a eulogy for Snap. A hazy fog passes over the night sky of Agen Kloss, home of the Resistance. Every star in the sky is beaming a brightness not seen since the fall of the Empire some 30 years ago. Through the thick canopy spread across the landscape, the greenness of the trees and shrubbery barely visible in the night, a small campfire crackles brightly, leaving a trail of grey smoke and the scent of an ashtray. Rey, the last Jedi in the galaxy, sits watching the orange flames emerge into different spires, thinking about Ben Solo, who had given his life to save hers, and how his sacrifice was the most noble thing anyone could ever do. It was what she loved about him. Under Rey's thick woolen coat was her dirty Jedi gown, which was flapping around against her back with a gentle breeze. There is nothing but silence around Rey, so when an unexpected movement to her right catches her eye, she feels the urge to draw her lightsaber in defense. Yet, she doesn't need to be alarmed, as it is only her friend Poe Dameron, sitting restless and anxious on a neighbouring log. Rey watches Poe without saying a word, watching his jaw grind with his knee placed jarringly against it and supported by his knee. Rey surveys her surroundings, and more specifically, those who had joined her to trek out into the Klosslands to find solitude away from the big celebration at the main base. Her eyes find Finn, who is lying down next to Poe with a shawl wrapped around his face. R2-D2 was opposite Rey and sitting dormant next to Rose Tico and Cadel Kokonix, who were both asleep. Chewbacca and Beaumont Kin rest on a log beside her to the left. Rey returns her gaze to Poe, who now gets up and walks away from the fire, slowly disappearing into the dark and out of sight. Rey doesn't care. BB-8 rolls silently along the ground in his wake. Along the Klosslands trail, BB-8 beeps. Poe. Yeah, I know. Poe sighs as the two continue to traverse back towards the Resistance base, a celebratory beacon. At the Resistance base, they arrive. It was so bright that Poe feels it could have been daytime if he didn't know. The base felt alive and vibrant, like a Chandrila night market. Poe observed people hugging each other, dancing to music, groups of people drinking, some looking at holograms and speaking into devices, and a few simply in the moment alone and watching the night unfold. Poe couldn't blame them, the war was won after all. In the back corner of the base, he spots Jessica Parva and other pilots. Poe and BB-8 make their way over to them. "Hey, Spice Runner!" The voice stops Poe in his tracks. He glances over at Zori Bliss, who is sitting with other surviving Kajemians. He realizes he hasn't spoken to Zori since she arrived at the Battle of Exegol. He owed her a many thanks, but now's not the time. "Come here, I got something I want to tell you." "Maybe later, Zori. I'm headed somewhere." Zori rolls her eyes and looks away. Poe is used to this reaction and powers on until he reaches the group. "Hey Jess, lost track of time." "It's fine. We weren't going to go without you, but since you're here, now we can." BB-8 beeps. Poe follows Jessica and the other 2 members of Black Squadron through the large hangar bay and out the back to a secluded area lit by a few lanterns hanging off makeshift structures and a small rounded campfire. Kare-kun hands the others a bottle of spotchka each. Poe takes his with a thankful nod. The 4 people and 1 droid standing around the fire look at each other with sympathy. They didn't want to be here, but they had no choice. "We are Black Squadron. We were once more than this, but this is what we are today. Kare-kun, Jessica Parva, Suralander Yavos, and I'm Poe Dameron." Poe pauses briefly. He doesn't blink as he tries to think of what to say next. "We lost 3 pilots on the way to this moment. Luolo Lumpa, Oddie Mover, and most recently, Major Taman Wexley. We called him Snap. He's who we're here for today. Oh gods. Jessica, through tears, puts her arm around Kari. It's okay, Kari, it's okay. Poe's eyes divert to the celebration occurring just below them, just barely visible over the barrier of rocks. I know it's hard to be feeling the way we are while everyone's celebrating down there, but we won a huge battle today, for ourselves and for the galaxy, and Snap was a big part of the reason we did win. And not just today. He fought at the Battle of Jakku that ended the Empire, and at the Battle of Exegol that ended the First Order. And in between, in 100 other fights, he was right there, doing whatever needed to be done. When you're out there, flying through hell, just trying to survive, nothing matters more than knowing the pilot on your wing has your back. Nothing. Poe pauses again. A small smile breaks his shallow face. To Snap Wexley, the best wingman I ever had. Kari remains rather sour. She doesn't look up at Poe, nor does she raise her bottle to toast to Snap. Suralinda watches her with sympathy. I loved my husband so much. It's hard to think of being alone again, when you found the person who never makes you feel alone, no matter how far away they are. It's just hard. You're not alone, Kari. Suralinda places a hand on Kari's back. Kari looks up to Suralinda. I appreciate that, Suralinda. Thank you. But it's not the same, and pretending it is lessens what Snap meant to me. Jessica places her bottle on a neighbouring rock. She wipes away her tears, lips pressed together, and holding back more. He rigged my test results so I could be a pilot. I didn't score high enough on the live fire tests, but Snap knew I'd get there with some extra time and focus. He pulled some strings, and then he gave me that time and focus himself. If not for that, I wouldn't have this life. I wouldn't have done the things I've done. All because he believed in me. Jessica wipes her nose with her sleeve. She sniffles quietly. Losing Snap was like losing a brother. She picks up her bottle again. I've never told anyone that before. I didn't know Snap as long as you all did, or as well, but I was a reporter before the war. Still am. And so I was trained to observe people and then encapsulate them in a few specific details. For Snap, it was his laugh, his generosity, his ingenuity, his bravery. I could write a 10,000 word piece on the life of Snap Wexley, but really, I only need 5. He was a good man. Poe takes another sip from his bottle. As he lowers his glass, he notices Kari pulling a small device from her pocket. She holds it in front of her, looking down at it. She does not smile. What's that? It's the code for the crazy droid he built when he was a kid, Mr. Bones. Oh right, of course. That thing saved my life back when we were fighting Terex. Never seen anything like it. Amazing. Kari grips the code for Mr. Bones tightly in her fist. She closes her eyes as if she was trying to savor the physical manifest of her husband. And then, after a few deep breaths, she throws the code into the campfire. He sure was, Poe. He sure was. The group sip their drinks in silence. During Poe's sip, he hears rustling from behind him. He didn't like that someone had broken the peaceful silence, that someone was disturbing this very private and intimate eulogy. General Dameron, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have some after-action reports we were hoping you could review. Poe doesn't even turn his head. Not tonight. It can wait. The officer turns and retreats, rather deflated at the response. Maybe we'll all fly together again, or maybe our fighting days are done. But whatever happens, we'll never stop remembering who we were and who we are. Poe raises his glass again. Here's to Snap Wexley. Here's to Black Squadron. Here's to all the stories we told. And to the stories yet to come. And with that, we fade to black. It's now morning. The sunrise is bright. The group trekking back from the campfire are led by Rey. Poe, BB-8 and Black Squadron are out in the groups helping from the long night. Zori and her crew are gone. Those that remain are from the Resistance, those who have stuck around for a reason. Finn reaches Poe first, and the two embrace in a tight hug. Finn, more than most, understands what Poe is going through, having lost so much more than family and friends. You weren't there when I woke up. I had some things I needed to do last night. I didn't end up going back. Well, at least you're back now. A large gathering of people starts to make themselves known around Poe and Finn, with their attention directly on them. Oh, we didn't really talk about what to do. It's okay. I've thought about it, and I know what we should do. Poe steps away from Finn. His eyes are tired and his aura is rather flat, but he is a general now, and he has a job to do. Good morning, everyone. I hope last night was rewarding for your amazing efforts. Whether you've joined us recently or have been here since the start, every single one of you has contributed to making the galaxy a safer place. There is scattered applause. Much like you all, Finn and I have had our own time to reflect on what has happened over the last few days. We are exhausted and tired. And we don't have a plan forward yet, but I know that we can't stop here. If we don't learn from the mistakes of what's come before, the Republic, the Rebellion, we are doomed to repeat it. And if a new empire comes around, well, it'd be better to prevent that from happening in the first place. I also know you all have friends and families across the galaxy. They'll be worried about you, and in a galaxy where we almost saw everything destroyed, togetherness is more valuable than ever. What happens to the Resistance will be decided soon, but Finn and I do not expect you to stay with us. If you are here for revenge, for purpose, or simply to do the right thing, you've done your part for yourselves and the galaxy. If you choose to leave, we'll organise transport ships out to the nearest spaceports so we can get you home. But if you choose to stay, well, we've got a lot of work to do. There are mixed responses. Some applaud Poe, some express their thanks, others just turn and disperse. That was pretty good, General. Co-General. You're just as equal as me. You know more people will leave than stay, right? I know. They deserve a break from it all. So do you. Poe chuckles slightly. I haven't had a break my entire life. I don't think I'll ever get one. But I can't rest now because we need to get moving. Otherwise, our opportunity will be gone. Well, I'll go organise some of the transport shuttles, but we'll be starting from scratch. We need to figure out a plan. Poe looks at Finn and nods. Finn takes this response and departs. Rey approaches Poe. Where'd you go last night? With Kare. She's torn up about Snap. It was nice, actually. For a moment, none of us had to care about what would happen today. There was no realization of time. It was just a moment. Poe pauses in reflection. How are you holding up? Fine. We're finally looking at a future we can make our own. So, you're staying? Rey cracks a smile. She looks at Poe slightly bewildered. Did you think I was leaving? I didn't know what you were thinking. I just figured you'd have some Jedi business to get to. Not yet. Rose Tico and Beaumont Kin walk into the pair, forming a group. My priority right now is the Resistance. Poe looks closely at his friend. He's trying to read what lies behind her shallow face. There is something Rey is not telling. The facade is obvious. So, what's the plan, General? You're staying too? I have a family at home, but I'll see them every so often. I want to help this galaxy more. I want to help it prosper. I trust you, Poe. I trust your vision. Poe nods thankfully. His eyes turn to Rose. I'm staying for Paige. We entered this fight together knowing we could make the galaxy safer. I owe it to her to see this through to the very end. Poe, for the first time in a long time, smiles. It is the first time he has smiled out of genuine happiness without some underlying context. Well, good. We need to work out what's next. I think we need to deal with what's left of the First Order before we do anything else. Poe, Beaumont, and Rose look at Rey rather perplexed. But the First Order is gone. You saw it happen. Yes, I know the First Order is gone. But we need to deal with what's left of it. Ships, personnel, alliances, the whole lot. That's a big project. I don't know if it's something we need to tackle right away. Rey might be right. The galaxy is populated in the 10 trillions. We can't let the brand or the iconography of the First Order remain scattered around. People won't know what's happened. The galaxy is huge. There's no way we can clean everything up and make meaningful progress. We can hire someone, come to some sort of alliance or agreement. Those ships on Exegol are just going to sit there forever. Why waste what little credit we have on sourcing new materials when we can repurpose old ones? We need to think about our numbers too. With everyone leaving, we need to recruit as quickly as possible. I don't think that's what we need at the moment. What's the point in gathering people for the cause when they won't have the tools and machinery needed to be useful? Poe looks around in deep thought. He watches as some Resistance cargo ships are landing around the thousands of the people eagerly awaiting their ticket off the planet. We need a base. We need money. We need an army. We need something to show progress. Poe, recruitment will come. It's necessary. But if we don't do things like this, We'll be behind before we even realise it. Poe nods. He feels strange about the conclusion that has been reached. Okay, I want you all to come with me then. Finn and Connix too. Rose, look into scrapping guilds, preferably ones that can reach the corners of the galaxy, and ones that can do their job right. Rose nods and walks off. Beaumont, prep the Falcon. Ray, I want you to get Cadel for me. I'll get Finn and we'll meet at LP3 in 30. Yes, General. Beaumont walks off in a hurry. Ray has stayed. She looks at Poe with a smile. She's proud of him. Yes, General. Poe turns around, taking one last moment to look at everything. He sees people leaving, X-Wings and A-Wings scattered across the Closs lanes. He realizes this is a new era for the Resistance, a new era for the galaxy. His eyes settle on the Tantive 4 in the large cave. Now in the control center. Poe walks into the command center inside the hangar bay. He spots Finn with a radio to his ear. His dialogue is inaudible. He places it down and turns to face Poe. I've got 50 ships coming from the Lothal depot. They'll be able to organize transport to Coruscant from there. Thanks. So, what's the plan then? I've got Rose looking at scrapping guilds. Oh, so we can organize cleanup. That's a good idea. Wasn't my idea. Finn looks at Poe with confusion. I don't think it's a bad idea. Except I do. There's just so much to do that it feels like doing this as the first thing is wasting time to make a real impact. Is it wasted time if we can actually get a deal done? Poe doesn't respond. He sits down in a nearby chair. Last night, I was asked to do some, after action reports in the middle of a eulogy. It was the first time the reality set in for me of the work ahead. I lied to Ray, said it was peaceful. I didn't sleep, fretting over every decision. Well, I'll stay here and do those reports. No, I want you with me on this trip. We need to present ourselves with numbers and unity. Finn nods slowly. He feels he has provoked Poe. Okay, we can do them later. Once we get back, we'll get everyone together. We'll organise what we need to do and what needs to be a priority. Poe nods and stands up. He looks away from Finn and out the window. We're not expected to know what to do. This is new for all of us, but we'll figure it out together. Rose enters the room. There's a few we can choose from. Rose hands Poe a tablet with a list of names on it. But I think the best one for us is the Sakar group on Raxus Prime. I've heard about them. Poe and Rose look at him with slight shock. From when I was in the First Order, my squad was supposed to go to the planet to take it over, but one of the planetarians reported that the surface contained a toxin that was lethal, and so the mission was aborted. That explains why they're independent. But we've got to be careful. Just because they're independent doesn't mean they don't have any preconceived judgment. The rest on here were in First Order occupied space. We should try Sakar. How many are coming? Maybe 7 or 8? I doubt the Falcon has the equipment for us all. I'll see if I can gather some before we head off. Okay, we'll see you there. LP3. Finn walks off, giving a small salute as he exits. Poe looks at Rose, moving his head in the direction of the door to indicate it's time to go. Now we are down on the landing pads. Poe and Rose walk along the scattered debris and various parked ships. I heard you finished the proton bomb. Why didn't you tell us earlier? We were all excited to see that finished. Rose looks at Poe with guilt. Well, I mean, you guys were barely here, always off on recon missions. I didn't realize you cared so much about it. Of course we care about it. It's your creation. We mightn't have been here often, but it would have been nice to celebrate it. Rose looks off in the distance ahead. She can see the Falcon. Oh, well, I'm sorry. It helped us on X-School. I saw Wedge's fighter fly them. I didn't see him. What was he flying? Y-Wing, I think. Well, it was designed for the B-Wing, but I'm glad it was integrated successfully. They are a few meters away from the Falcon and the group gathered around it. Most are standing awaiting their arrival, but Beaumont is sitting slumped on a crate. You know what I called it? The bomb? No. The pager. For Paige? For Paige. Poe smiles at Rose. She'd love that. Rose returns a smile, slightly bumping into Poe as they walk. And then I imagine a really specific shot of the two of them, like, behind them as they walk, as they get further away from the camera. At last, they reach the group where Ray, Beaumont, Cadel, Chewbacca, and R2-D2 await. Where's Finn? He was getting some equipment. Can't imagine he'll be long. Equipment? We're going to Raxus Prime. Cadel and Beaumont groan. Chewbacca lets out a stifled roar. R2-D2 shakes with bells and whistles. What's wrong with Raxus Prime? It's called the galaxy's garbage pit. No wonder we're bringing equipment. I hope it's sterilized suits. It's the best chance we've got. If they've been isolated and ignored for a decade, it's likely they'll be interested in agreement or some sort of alliance. Chewbacca roars. You're right, Han wouldn't like this, but I'm not Han, and this isn't his mission. Finn arrives, pushing an open crate on a hovering cart. Sitting in the cart is C-3PO, while BB-8 and D-O are stationary at the front, like toddlers in a pram. It's just one mission, and then you're free to go. Oh heavens, we're doomed. The group looks at Finn with confusion. He lifts his arms as if to say, what did you expect? BB-8 beeps. D-O, adventure 3PO. I guess this really is everyone. I found the mask, but couldn't find any protection suits, so we'll have to clean up good when we get back. Beaumont rolls his eyes. Under no circumstances will I join you. What's wrong, 3PO? R2 and I had planned to take a transport out of here. You want to leave? But you've been a part of this for so long. Precisely the reason, General. R2 believes there is a place we can go. A safe place. R2 beeps. A safe place? R2 beeps again. A droid planet? A droid planet? I've told them that after the mission we can discuss it, but we need you for this one. Pearl approaches 3PO. You've served the Resistance well. We'll let you go, but we really need you on this one, pal. Can you help us? Everyone looks at 3PO. Oh well, I suppose one more couldn't hurt. R2 beeps excitedly. There are smiles around the group. Chewbacca roars. That's the spirit. Let's just hope the Sakara are welcoming of droids. 3PO moves his head around as if to double check he had heard Poe correctly. The group begins boarding the ship. Finn loads the droids and equipment into the ship. Beaumont does the final checks of the exterior of the Falcon. A quick montage of the Falcon being prepared for travel, including cockpit checks. Rey pilots the Falcon into the air, Chewbacca as her co-pilot. They exit through the trees, into the upper atmosphere, and finally into Agent Kloss space. The Millennium Falcon makes the jump to hyperspace, departing the luscious green of the Kloss lands. We are now with our villains. A lone First Order Star Destroyer travels across the stars, the tip of its triangular skeleton slightly piercing the lilac hue of the planet Benetage. A man working at a small station drops his headset to the floor. The loud noise disturbs others who are working around him. One rolls his eyes at him. The man arises hastily, collects himself, and walks away. Track the man through several corridors and blast doors. He passes many officers and a few stormtrooper commanders who stop to salute. The man takes no notice of them. The man reaches the bridge. At the end of the narrow walkway is a man who looks out towards Benetage. The man continues to walk forward until he reaches about a meter behind the man at the window. Yes, Lieutenant. The man at the window doesn't turn. The man addressing him tremors slightly, eyes wide. The Emperor is dead. The man at the window freezes. This is not the news he had been expecting. That's not possible. A mission report transmitted by the Resistance. The lieutenant pauses momentarily. The final order is gone. At last, the man at the window turns to face his lieutenant. His face is shallow, emotionless. He has a barely visible stubble and sharp markings, like he had held his face in a particular position for too long, and now it had become the norm. The Final Order's navy is commanded by some of the most respected generals in recent history. The Resistance has a navy no larger than a few squadrons. How is it that they were able to best the most powerful fleet ever assembled? It's not easy to tell, General. The report mentions the efforts of hundreds of thousands of people, but that could mean anything. There aren't any specifics. This response annoys General Lenkov, who silently scoffs at his inferior. What do we do now? The demise of the Final Order is not ideal. Its sheer power presented the possibility of a galaxy where no one could attempt to challenge us. However, this setback does present others with opportunities. Sir? You have been under my watch for how long now? 2 years, sir. then you know I've been passed up and overlooked by superiors on many occasions. You know I see things differently, that people disagree with me. Perhaps now is our time to take control, now that these people are out of the equation. But sir, the final order is gone though. You think too narrowly. The final order is gone, but out there, scattered among the stars, are destroyers and crews just like ours. The only difference is that no one else aboard those have the conviction to embrace these substantial losses. No one else can perceive that while the resistance revels in victory, we can begin the process of re-emergence. That is why we must do this, before our assets go missing or defect. The final order is gone, but the first order, the original order, stands stronger because of it. Argio looks at Lenkov with respect. He admires his initiative, but is unsure about how his control over other fleets will end up. Where to first then? There's a stronghold on Pallas, a sizable army. And if they refuse to join? Lenkov turns to face the window again. His mind is racing, but you wouldn't be able to tell it. Then they serve no use to us, and must be decimated. We are back with our heroes. Purgle Wales can be seen travelling alongside the Falcon in hyperspace. Chewbacca sits in the pilot's seat, switching on the autopilot. He roars in a satisfied way. He leaves the cockpit, receiving a smile from Rose as he does so. Cater looks through the front window with amusement. It's funny, this is my first time on the ship for a real mission. The first time was a bit of a blur, escaping from Crate, but it feels so strange. I've seen it hundreds of times in a hangar bay or fly over the top of me at base. Cater looks to the floor. I wasn't assigned enough missions recently to get the chance. Rose turns from the co-pilot seat to face Cater. You know Leia didn't want you on those missions because of what happened on Silvoria. You're important to the Resistance. You're important to her. But she's not here to tell you that you can't anymore. Cater pauses. She'd not thought about Leia for a while. She gave me boundaries because she knew me. Because she cared about me. And it wasn't just Silvoria. Cetos, Daxon 4, Deluthia. All the missions. She warned me against revenge. That had made me unfocused, volatile, but it's the only thing that's been keeping me going all these years. So maybe you're right. She can't say no to me anymore. But I don't know if that's better. Because now I've got twice the reason to fight. Twice the reason to do what Leia didn't want me to. Rose looks at Cater with uncertainty. She had not exactly heard what happened to Cater before. Beyond the mission on Silvoria, she knew very little. Cater gets up and leaves the cockpit, leaving Rose to reflect on Cater's words. Ray sits in a passenger seat in the cargo hold, elbow on knees, hands on head, desperately trying to make sense of her situation. The door to the cargo hold slides open and Finn walks in. Chewie reckons we're still about an hour out from RP. Ray doesn't move. Finn, concerned about his friend, moves closer towards her. Once he is next to her, he leans down so that they are at eye level. He places a kind hand on her knee. Is everything alright? Ray sighs and looks up at Finn. I'm fine. Just thinking about everything that happened over the last 2 days. Leia, Ben, Palpatine. I don't expect you to understand, but it's just been difficult for me to deal with it all at once. The thought of Exegol provokes Finn. He remembers something unsettling that happened he wanted to share with Ray. I think I do understand. I know what you went through with the First Order, what they did to you when you were so young. No, Ray, it's just... On Exegol, I felt you die. Ray looks at Finn confused, but with a still face. It was some disturbed, supernatural feeling inside me. I didn't need to see you to know something had happened. I could tell it was real. Ray doesn't respond immediately. She lingers on Finn's words. I did die. But what you felt, it's not what you think. Finn looks at Ray longingly, as if he had just had his hopes crushed. The Force resides in every single living thing, but it doesn't mean we instinctively understand it. It takes a deep commitment to training, which you haven't had. You might not think it is, but for a while now, I've had this feeling, this unease pulsing inside me, like it's trying to claw out. And I don't know what to do about it. Ray gets to her feet, Finn rises slowly after her. Finn, I don't know what you have, but it's not the Force. Then at least show me I don't. Rey is rather surprised by this response. It had not been like Finn to respond like this. She is unsure, but to help a friend is the most important to her. She wonders how to help determine it, and then she remembers one particular lesson with Luke. Okay, I'll help you. Finn sits down in a seat Rey had risen from. Rey moves closer to Finn and watches him closely. Close your eyes. Finn closes his eyes. Feel your surroundings. Picture it, all in your mind. Connect with it. Honor its existence. Now, reach out. Tell me what you see. Finn is quiet initially. He is concentrating. Life. Cut to a shot of the Purrgil whales travelling alongside the Falcon. There is a deep bellow, like a call that they feel Finn is connecting to them. Fire. Cut to a shot of the interior of the hyperdrive engine. It roars with blue flames and a crackling enigma. Confusion. Cut to a shot of Cadel sitting alone in the cockpit. She has her knees tucked up to her chest, arms crossed across them, and looking out into hyperspace. Peace. Cut to a shot of R2-D2 and C-3PO sitting together in the main hold. There is silence between them, but they look at each other fondly. And between them? Finn pauses and thinks again. Some sort of current, a wave of energy, a powerful force binding them together. A balance? A balance. Rey sits down next to Finn. He opens his eyes, despite not instructed to. He seems startled that Rey has moved next to him. Rey thinks it over. Surely it's not possible someone of Finn's age could be showing now. Yet it had been clear to her that this description was not one someone could simply make up. It was impossible to describe. Perhaps I was naive. It's awfully rare to show force sensitivity at this age. Well, I'm not that old, am I? Most younglings begin showing between 1 and 2 years old, some even earlier. Finn, now a bit clearer on the context, gestures as if he understands. So does that mean I can't learn to use it? Or at least stop feeling it? Rey looks quizzical. I'm not sure. I never read anything about it in the Jedi texts that said it's not possible. Well, when did you feel it? I was very young, but I don't remember exactly. I only cared about my family coming back that I had suppressed it. But then, only recently, I was shown it's still there. Rey pauses as if she had figured something out. Maybe you had a similar experience. Finn looks at Rey with confusion. You were taken when you were very young, brainwashed. Perhaps you never had the opportunity until the circumstances were right. Is that how it works? I'm not sure. My knowledge of the Force is limited to what Leia taught me, but it's a possibility and something to work with. So what do we do then? Rey looks at Finn. She's excited about the possibility of training her friend to be a Jedi, to help him. But at the same time, she is concerned that this is exactly the mindset of the Jedi that makes them such a dangerous adversary, that in seeking the Force and the need to train it, that is how they ensure their survival. It is something Rey had long thought was quite crude. I will guide you to use the Force, to train to be a Jedi. Finn straightens his posture, as if the honor was the most noble thing one could do. But not now. We have to help Poe first. This mission is a priority. And now we cut to our secondary villains. The stars shine brightly against the dark backdrop. There is nothing, until suddenly, with a bright crackle of blue energy and a pulsing crash of sound, there is something. A small black rock with a bluish glow drifting uncontrollably towards the nearby planet. We follow the rock as it enters through the atmosphere, into the sky, where the terrain becomes visible. The rock crash lands into the ground on the Kashyyyk Highlands. Dirt goes flying everywhere. Title card reads Kashyyyk. The rock is smoking. Its vibrant blue glow is still radiating. The crater is deep, but the rock is not fully submerged. Suddenly, a strange visual happens. A door appears from the side, except it disintegrates into thin air. There is no sliding or mechanic to indicate it was opened. The space just disappears. Inside the rock are 4 individuals. None of them look earthly. None of them look like creatures from this galaxy. That's because they're not. One of them grunts and slowly lifts themselves up and out of the rock. The figure is wearing a menacing black attire with curved shoulder pads and armor. A staff made of something strange is slung over its back. At last, the creature's head is revealed. It is gross, covered in scabs, white all over, and devilish. Point of view shot of the creature looking out over the water and surrounding highlands. The other three figures rise from behind, each a different size, with different armor. The main figure lifts their wrist to their face. There is no gadget, it is purely organic. Overlord Shimra, we've arrived. We'll begin charting the land and await the rest of the team. The four black figures are a stain on the luscious greenery as the camera pulls out. The Millennium Falcon exits hyperspace in front of the planet Raxus Prime. It is a large planet with a yellowish tinge emitting from it. Follow the Millennium Falcon as it descends down towards the planet's surface. It passes through dense clouds. In the cockpit is Chewbacca, Poe, Rose, Cadel, and standing in the back is Beaumont. He leans forward over the front seats to look out over the side of the Falcon. He notices people working in junk piles on the ground with heavy-duty machinery. Some aren't wearing masks or protective equipment. They better not touch the ship. The Falcon engages its landing gear and sits down softly on the Earth, steam hissing from multiple ports. Inside, the group gathers together and prepares. They fit themselves with masks and gather other equipment they need. In case our track is cut short, we'll brief you about what we hope will happen now. Poe looks at Finn. We don't know much about the Succor, so we can't anticipate their reaction to our appearance. But regardless of what you think of this place, let's at least show some respect to the people who live here. I don't anticipate negotiating will be easy, but I have every intention of leaving here with some sort of alliance. Leave the diplomacy to Finn and I, but stick close. 3PO. 3PO looks at Poe, quite alarmed at the sharp tone Poe has registered. Can we count on you to translate for us? Well, if it means leaving here quicker than I suppose I can. But I must inform you that historic negotiations with the Succor have a success rate of 12... Poe cuts 3PO quickly. Great! If everyone's ready, let's get going. The walkway retracts, steam hissing as it folds downwards. The personnel on the ship walk down it. Poe leads, Finn follows closely, each with a hand on their holsters. Poe looks out at the scrapyard ahead. There is a palace in the near distance, although it hardly looks like a palace. There was nothing special about it. It was barely taller than the junk piles around it. Their path consists of a walk through scrappers on a narrow bridge hanging low over a ravine. The breathing of our main characters is much louder than usual behind the masks. R2, what are the oxygen levels like? R2 beeps. So we can take off our masks. R2 beeps aggressively. Okay, they stay on for the moment. The group traverses the hanging bridge. As they walk, they pass scrappers who give them unwelcoming looks. The music sounds otherworldly and distorted. The noises around them of machinery similar to saws and drills. Dirty. I know, Dio. We won't be here for long. Chewbacca growls quietly. Lighten up, Chewie. This can't be the worst place you've been in all your years. Chewbacca growls. Nothing like Kashyyyk, huh? I wouldn't know. I've never been. Chewbacca growls. I'd like that. Further up the bridge, Poe walks with Finn. Reckon they know we're here? Based on the looks we've been getting, I reckon they've known since we landed. Wonder what the reception will be like. As long as Golden Face back there doesn't mistranslate anything, I think we'll be fine. The group continues to walk across the bridge. Several scrapping ships are landing in the surrounding areas and flying over the top of them. At last they reach the front gate of the palace. There is a tall creature in the middle of the pack of guards wielding blasters. They are maskless. Poe and the rest of the group stop in front of them. The tall creature surveys them carefully. Why are you here? The Rhodian wishes to know why you are here. My name is Poe Dameron. I am a co-general of the Resistance with my partner Finn. We were hoping to discuss business with you. 3PO translate Poe's remarks back to Gardosh. After hearing the translation, Gardosh doesn't look any happier. The Succor do not make deals. We do not trust the Empire or the Rebellion. He says the Succor do not make deals and they don't trust the Empire or the Rebellion. Tell him that we're not either, and we're not trying to be. We just want to clean up the galaxy. 3PO translates. This time, Gardosh looks a bit more friendly. Come inside then, tell me what you offer. We have been invited inside to share our offer. Great. The group enters the palace except for Rey and BB-8 who remain outside the gate. The palace is much nicer inside than it appeared outside. It is black with a white trim, looking similar to that of an Imperial base. They progress through the palace and into a large room with an oval-shaped table. They stop at the door. Leaders only. He wishes only the generals enter. Rose and Cadel exchange looks of concern with Poe and Finn. Poe nods, looking rather tame at the idea. Poe, Finn and 3PO follow Gardosh and the guard inside. Gardosh moves 3 seats on one side of the oval out and ushers the 3 guests to sit in those seats. They do as advised. Gardosh sits opposite them by himself as his guards surround them along the wall of the room. The heavy doors close with a thud. We don't see many travellers this sector. Poe and Finn are rather stunned by Gardosh now speaking English. Yet Poe registers a look to Finn as if to say, don't question it. I am Gardosh, Governor of Raxus Prime. Please excuse the informality, we had not been expecting you. Gardosh, do you know what has happened in the galaxy? Is the New Republic still in disarray? The New Republic was destroyed almost 2 years ago, replaced by Imperial remnants. This sentence seemed to shock Gardosh, who shivers at the idea of the Empire. And you need our help to defeat them? No, what was left of the Empire is gone now. Gardosh relaxes at this sentiment. Then why are you here? Was this an Imperial planet? The Empire never occupied the planet, but they occupied our space and our shipyards. Didn't care to ask, just took it. What could we do about it? Before Sukkor, before the Clone Wars, this planet was sacred. The Separatists brought war and left it here. And when we took over, we kept a low profile so no one would keep coming. So no, this planet was not Imperial. They were here, but we didn't bother them. And they never cared about us anyway. There are legends about hidden secrets here. Legends are nothing but wishes of higher purpose. Don't waste away believing them. Gardosh, the Empire is gone. We're trying to build something that lasts. Something that has your interests at heart, so that you don't have to operate believing that there's people out there that could purge this planet. We need your help. What can Raxus Prime offer? We are quaint. Our people live with fear that the destroyers will return. You can make a difference. Out there are Imperial ships that need scrapping. You won't find any trouble. Whatever fraction of Imperial forces may be left will have scattered and won't be a threat. You want us to dismantle Imperial ships. That's what you specialize in, isn't it? Gardosh pauses and considers this. And what in return? For an alliance? Loyalty. An initial deposit plus annuity benefits. Military aid if you ever run into trouble. Patrol units whenever you require. Gardosh swaps his gaze between Poe and Finn. How can I trust your word? Because we're not the Empire. You said yourself they came and took without asking. Here we are, looking out for your best interests as well as ours. Gardosh looks at the table, tapping his hands against his forehead. Rey struts around between 2 pillars. She didn't like that it was taking them so long to get something done, but something else was bothering her. BB-8 watches her as she moves side to side. BB-8 beeps. I'm very aware, thank you. BB-8 beeps sadly. Rey stops suddenly as the camera zooms out to reveal a tint of glowing blue. Rey doesn't turn her head. Luke? Reveal Luke Skywalker as a Force ghost. What happened to hello? Right. Hello, Master. BB-8 beeps. He's right there. BB-8 moves his head side to side trying to figure out what Rey means. You seem distracted. It's Finn. He's Force sensitive. Yes. And you didn't think to tell me? Why would I do that? Part of being a Jedi is discovering that for yourself. But I've never had that happen before, so how am I supposed to know what to say? Well, you stop being distracted. Rey scoffs at this response and turns away. Based on the last 2 days, that's not going to be easy. Luke sighs. Rey, you're so brave for what you've done. You sacrificed your life for the galaxy, for people who you don't know. And it's not just because you're a Jedi, it's because it's what you do regardless. Trust me, you'll work it out with Finn. He's a good person. He'll be a good Jedi. Rey listens to Luke's words. There was an empathy in his voice, one she hadn't heard from her master before. I'm not sure what to do. It seems so sudden. And we've got to work on getting the resistance stable. It took me a while to realize I was ready too. I'd lost my father. Leia wanted to be trained. Honor what my father stood for. Vader. Anakin. What are you saying? Honor. what Leia stood for by teaching Finn how to do what you do. Rey gives Luke a stinging gaze. What if I don't want to teach him? Luke seems rather confused by this remark. BB-8 beeps. Yes, Finn. Well, why not? Because I'm not ready to. I'm not equipped to be a master. Yes, you are. Are you saying that because you genuinely believe that? Or do you just want the Jedi to keep growing? Why would I think that? Because you failed before. And this is your last chance to see your Jedi Order come together. And I'm the only one who can make it happen. Rey. Well, you said to me on Exegol. Well, you all said to me on Exegol. I am all the Jedi. But I'm also the only Jedi. And that scares you. Rey! Luke's forceful voice makes Rey stumble. Whatever mistakes I made are ones I live with regardless of what you decide to do. And you are the only Jedi, and that is important to a lot of people. But you train hard with Leia. Why would you doubt your potential? Why seek to make us seem like masters behind a grand plan? Rey doesn't respond. She looks on rather frivolous. Luke sighs. Go to Tatooine when you're ready. For what? You'll know when you get there. Let the Force guide you. After a few beats, Rey looks up at Luke and nods. She enters through the front gate as BB-8 rolls in alongside her. Luke looks down at the ground. Cadel, Rose, Beaumont and Chewbacca wait anxiously outside the door to the conference room. It's been too long. We should go in. We haven't heard any commotion, Bo. We just need to be patient. Chewbacca roars. They've probably taken apart the Falcon by now. Rose looks at Beaumont with annoyance on her face. Why are you so negative? You're on a mission, aren't you? Things take time. Beaumont looks a little embarrassed that he had complained. At last, the doors open. Poe and Finn walk out first, followed by Gardosh and then the guards. Poe looks at Rose and moves his head, indicating they follow him. They walk until they reach the front gate. Poe and Finn stop and extend their hands out to Gardosh, who takes them gladly. We'll get to work, but hold up your end. Don't worry about that. We'll send across known locations of destroyers for you to head out to. Until next time, gentlemen. Finn nods at Gardosh as he and his guard turn back to enter inside. Good news? Poe takes a tablet from his satchel and shows the group a document signed by Poe, Finn and Gardosh that has the title Act of Decommission. That's great. What did you offer them? Loyalty. There seems to be confusion around Poe's response, but no one questions it. 3PO walks out the front gate. At last! Let's leave this foul place. The smell is horrendous. How can you smell? You're a droid. Trust me, Master Finn, I can smell this. The group begins to trek back to the Falcon as they reach the top of the bridge. Cut to Kashyyyk as the four black figures arrive at Kachiro Beach at sunset. There are Wookiees walking around, some building huts, others having dinner. They begin walking through the sand and towards a large hut on the ground. They get a strange look from Wookiees. They enter the hut where a group of 3 Wookiees sit having dinner. Where is your leader? One of the Wookiees growls uncertainly. Whiff grunts. He understands this response and doesn't like it. Citizens should know where their leader is. Whiff lifts his blade and quickly slices diagonally through the Wookiee that had spoken to him. The other 2 Wookiees cry loudly and go to attack them, but the fighters quickly shoot them down. There is alarm, and many Wookiees growl at the commotion. The group of figures steps outside the hut and begin firing on the Wookiees. General Lenkov sits at a desk. The office interior is very clean and simple. It is grey and dark, besides a light built into the desk. Lenkov is looking at the desk. The door to the office suddenly slides open, and in walks Argio. You called for me, sir? Lenkov looks up and stands up, pushing his chair aside. Yes, Lieutenant. Update? We're a few minutes out from Palace. Good. There is an awkward silence between them. Please, sit. Argio does what Lenkov says. Lenkov sighs loudly. I have learned some information that may be deemed irrelevant to many, but I want to know what you make of it. Argio looks at Lenkov confused. Lenkov returns a hard look. Of course. I was monitoring transmissions out of Lothal. The city has a large spaceport which connects to major routes across the galaxy. I found a man named Otto Banda who was contacting his wife on Chandrila. He mentioned that the Resistance had let him go, and that they had let them all go. Now, tell me, Lieutenant, what do you think? I assume that Otto means that the Resistance has let their army leave, By choice or enforcement, I can't tell, but that means they don't have soldiers, right? Very good. It also means that we are many steps ahead. The Resistance has made a very stupid decision, and now they have to start again, and we cannot make the same mistake. From now on, I will not be tolerant. I will be strict and forceful. If anyone steps out of line, I will make sure they suffer consequences. No one will leave. And this army on Palace, they need to know how serious I am. I need you to understand why I'm doing this, and that you need to work with me. But they'll despise you. Yes, but the Resistance is looking for twigs. I intend to keep my statues. I'd rather build our galaxy with steel instead of sticks. If it's a numbers game, then the only chance you have is to rally lost patrols. I know the reputation of the First Order around the galaxy. You do understand. I don't intend to follow the same rule as the First Order under the Supreme Leader's command. Our order will be greater, not ruling with fear but with authority. The Resistance wants freedom, but freedom is the galaxy's greatest lie. If we manage on Palace and other stations around the galaxy, no one will stop what we are becoming, a greater order. And we cut to black. And that is the end of Star Wars Defiance Chapter 1, a eulogy for Snap. I spent a lot of time working on this script. Obviously, it's got so many grammatical errors, and that's my fault. I didn't proofread it. But I like what substance is there for a first episode. And I think that definitely going into what the rest of the season offers and what the rest of the series offers, this is a really good indication of what it could look like. Obviously, it's not the most well-written thing. I can't show you what it looks like. I can imagine in my head what it looks like, but I imagine it would look very good. And obviously, we're trying to weave in some character stuff that's happening to our main characters, kind of sowing seeds of doubt into what you guys know as the audience about these characters and how we can expand on their personalities and characteristics. So overall, that is chapter 1. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to see more, let me know in the comments, like the video, hit subscribe. We are almost at 500 subscribers. We'd greatly appreciate that. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.